Just Brother Kyle, okay? That's it. That's all I need to be called. I'm a brother. I love you guys. And that's my desire. Let's do it. So, today I'm going to learn a couple different things. I just want to address something because Erica normally texts me like I need notes. Erica, here's my notes. They are hieroglyphics. I do very terrible note taking. I'm gonna tell you, most of my studies are in my mind. I read and I it's like stacked. So that's why sometimes it's like I stack on top of something, and then like when we're reading it, I just know where to go because it's like taking the card stack and just unstacking. So when I gotta write it down on notes, oh, it's like almost a little overwhelming for me. I'm like, oh my gosh, where do I start? So I've been trying to do so just for you, Erica. Okay, and for those that are like, hey, I need to know, I'm doing my best. But if you read this, it's not even in order. So it's a start. Amen. All right. So 1 Kings 5. Let's go there. Who would like to read? We'll just go right on down. Can you read verses 1 and 2? Christian, right?
Yes.
We're going to need name tags soon. Right, yeah? Well, I am live. I don't know. You can do it on Facebook too.
And Hiram, king of Tyre,
Grab
said
that
to
mic though, if you can. I'm sorry. Thank you. Everyone's like, I didn't sign up for this mic thing. But while we're doing it like this, is that way if there's a discourse or a conversation, and we're on live, for those that aren't here with us, they can hear the discourse.
And Hiram, king of Tyre, sent his servants unto Solomon, for he had heard that they had anointed him king in the room of his father. For Hiram was ever the lover of David. And Solomon went to Hiram, saying,
You can pause right there. I left that kind of on that like cliffhanger, because who is this Haran? Right? Verse 1 specifically says that Haran had sent messengers, sent servants essentially. He sent servants to Solomon to pay allegiance or homage, respect. Sorry, this is crazy. You good?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So these servants were sent to pay allegiance, to give homage. Hey, Solomon, we know that you've become king, and that's where. So you can see this authority, though, first and foremost, that David had. This is just to catch everyone up with the conversations that we had in 1 Kings already. I think it's interesting because one point, the authority that David had and what he left in Israel, Solomon then took over. To the point where Hiram comes in and says, hey, I know you've been a blessed king because David had blessed you. Where he sent his servants to pay homage to show support that you have the king of Tyre. The fact that Hiram pays homage as well as an Egyptian pharaoh gives his daughter, we're going to lead that an Egyptian pharaoh gives his daughter to Solomon. You don't ever have that discourse or what that looked like. It just goes to show you that Solomon was doing everything he could as a political protection. What I'm going to present to you today is it doesn't always mean it's a Yah presented portion. And you're going to see, actually, it's very important. Yah does not sanction this. This is important. It doesn't mean that they can be blessed by it. It doesn't mean that there wasn't a blessing by it. But we're going to, that's what I want to unpack here. I want to unpack, how does Solomon fall so far away? And then we have to look at, like, what was those things that had happened? How did he leaven the whole lump? Where was the leaven that got into his life? He had wisdom. He was intellectual. He was incredibly political. He was very rich. He was very blessed. But there is something that, while this particular chapter doesn't show it, this is prefacing something that that is coming. This is Solomon not holding the line, not protecting the guard. Do you know that kings are supposed to write their own version of the Torah? They're supposed to write their own Torah themselves. And what I'm going to tell you is that throughout this particular chapter, you're going to see there's no way he did that. But it didn't mean he wasn't blessed. It just meant that his downfall was also going to come from his blessing. This is important. His downfall comes from his blessing. Watch. So, as of right now, though, we're not here yet. Just 1 Kings chapter 5, 1 and 2. I just wanted to paint a picture that Solomon, he was very incredibly anointed, and it's because of David. David does so much groundwork. He does so much fighting. He establishes the kingdom. That way, when it's presented to Solomon, David does so much fighting that when it's presented to Solomon, it's won. It's whole. When David has the fighting, and he's fighting remember the battles of David running from Solomon, of David trying to run from his son Absalom, of David not knowing if he's going to win against the Philistines, and all these crazy up and downs that had happened. He prepared the king for his son in his entire life, which you can see this infrastructure. And we're going to spend some time looking at that because I believe that's the inheritance we're also supposed to leave to our children. It's not necessarily kingship. It's preparing them for the role of what it would look like to either be a servant of Yah. Some people are leaders, some people aren't. You'll know that based off of your own children or the people you disciple with. Now, before we read verse 3, we're going to do a lot of flipping. So some of you guys, this is your first time at Locust and Honey Ministries. I do a lot of back and forth. I do a lot of back and forth because I think we like to take the Bible and make it coincide with one another. So I try my best, if I'm going to make a point, make it start prior to the point itself. So let's go. Thank you. You got it? It's fine. Let's go to this Hiram guy. Who is Hiram? Why is he so important in the Bible? Why does he come up and bless him? Who gave him the authority? And why is he so special? Let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 5. So we're going to make a couple stops along the way. Hit me.
Sorry.
Sorry.
For those who have to suffer, it's not chapter 5, verse 1. We start at 15 just because.
Okay, yeah, perfect.
Yeah, just so you know, we're at verse 15.
At verse 15. Good, thank you. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah.
Good.
So, but that was regarding 1 Kings. Where are we at now? Sorry.
2 Samuel chapter 5.
Amen.
We're trying to find out who is this Hiram guy. You're going to see some pretty interesting parallels. Maybe even some coincidences. We're in chapter 5, 10 to 13. Would you like to read? Would you like to read, Carl?
I know. I'm going to read first. Okay. What is it that I'm reading?
10 to 13. Thank you.
What is it?
2 Samuel 5, 10 to 13. Yeah.
2 Samuel 10.
Yep. 2 Samuel 5, 10 to 13.
And David went on and grew great, and the Lord God of hosts was with him. And Hiram, king of Tyre, sent messengers to David, and cedar trees, and carpenters, and masons, and they built David a house. Can I continue?
Yep.
And David perceived that the Lord had established him king over Israel, and that he had exalted his kingdom for his people of Israel's sake. And David took him more concubines and wives out of Jerusalem after he was come from Hebron, and there were yet sons and daughters born to David. Thank
you. All right, so I find it interesting that after he meets with Hiram, Hiram sends messengers, before I say that, Hiram sends messengers to him to build a house. What do with a stranger, which is also something, that's the only time we actually see this, is that he sends servants to build a house for David. David accepts it. But then the other thing, I do find it coincidental that he ends up getting multiple wives and has multiple concubines from this point forward. I'm gonna just give you an maybe, it's a maybe. This is like maybe this happened. So you're gonna put that in your pocket, okay? And in that way we can have this conversation after. So Hiram specifically sends servants, builds houses, builds David specifically a house. I think it's interesting because this is what Solomon is getting ready to do. He's getting ready to task to build a house. Does Yah ever say, go to Hiram, king of Tyre? He does not, or Tyre, he never does. Every time prior to this, did Yah show up? Did he put a spirit upon someone and they knew how to do everything, right? I think it's interesting, this is important. Now it doesn't take away from this temple, this massive temple that's being built. It just goes to show you when Nehemiah and Ezra go to do it, there are other pagan nations that want to start helping build it, and they absolutely don't allow it. They're like, nope, you're not allowed to be a part of this. This is an Israelite function only. That's it. I thought that was interesting, like an interesting guard, because Solomon doesn't do that. He does not do that. So, I don't know if you guys knew this. I didn't know that. Hiram sends messengers. They're specifically skilled craftsmen. They build David a house, and from this we can see Hiram came on his own accord. David didn't send him to build his own house. Hiram sent it and wanted to do this good gesture. Very similar to what he does with Solomon. For Solomon becoming king, he sends 2 servants into Solomon to give homage, to pay homage, right? There's another account of this discourse between Solomon and Hiram. I did not know this until studying for this chapter. I didn't know differences. I actually didn't know how many differences there were. So we're going to go back and forth. A lot of today we're going to be in 1 Kings 5 and 2 Chronicles 2. So we're going to be flipping back and forth a little, okay? So let's go to 2 Chronicles chapter 2. So this Hiram guy, this Hiram king of Tyre, he is a pretty influential figure to the children of Israel, right? So we're going to go to 2 Chronicles 2. If you have any questions until right now, just ask them. If not, then we'll just keep trucking. I'm going to try to go a little quick because there's a little bit of reading. Erica, can you do 2 Chronicles chapter 2? Can you read 1 to 2?
Second Chronicles 2, verse 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Solomon gave orders to build a temple for the name of the Lord and a royal palace for himself. He conscripted 70,000 men as carriers and 80,000 as stone cutters in the hills and 3,600 as foremen over them.
Perfect. Yeah, that's just verse 2. Yeah, 1 and 2. So right here we have something that happened prior to Hiram coming. We have Solomon. He issues in what's called the workforce. So he establishes a workforce. This is kind of important because in 1 Kings 5, it doesn't say that. It just says that Hiram knew he was king and then sent messengers. This is important when understanding when this would happen, right? So Solomon builds this entire workforce. This entire workforce David actually built. He just organized this. You find this, if you're taking notes, 1 Chronicles, like I said, it's gonna be a little dry in the beginning because I want to set the preface up. 1 Chronicles 22, 14 and 19, David creates a census of all the people that were aliens to Israel. They were specifically the people, the Philistines, all the Canaanites, pretty much all the Canaanites. Anybody that's not Israel, David had set aside for jobs. Very important, right? Why did he do that? He didn't even, when doing this admin work, he didn't even take advantage of this. He just set this admin work up for Solomon for his anointing. I believe this is why you can see a Holy Spirit gift being administration, because it sets up the blessing. If Solomon were to receive this great command without the infrastructure around him, he wouldn't be able to do the thing that he was supposed to do. You're going to go build this magnificent building Anybody that's in construction or around construction knows how much goes into it. From the simplest things, from the tape to the concrete to the nails to the screws to literally every single thing. There's so much that goes into building. So then all that David spent the rest of his establishing. As soon as Yah said, you cannot build this temple because you're a man of war, David went into admin, which is also important. There is nothing bad about that. There is nothing bad about the infrastructure set up for someone to receive the blessing. It's actually a servant mindset. It's a servant attitude. I think this is important also because while Solomon is looked at as being the wisest person and everyone talks about it, I will honestly say that he wouldn't have had this gift, as we've read numerous amount of times. David was prepping him for his position, constantly feeding him the things that he needed to do. I will say there's a lot of things that David didn't do right, and we've addressed them. We had so many conversations about them. But at this particular moment, he's doing everything he can to prepare Solomon to be a better king than he was. And I think that should be something we can identify with and then practice. To be the face of something is wonderful, but to be the admin of something is not as glorious. But the person that's being the face of that thing cannot do that if the admin work is not done. That's, if I'm just being transparent, also why most women have the admin responsibility and the servant mentality. Doesn't mean it's always the case. I'm not saying this is black and white. But it goes to show you why women would have that same mentality, because while the husband is supposed to lead the home, the admin of the home, being the wife, would be able to set infrastructure for her husband so he could do his position, not conflict and battle with one another. They would work together as a goal, as one, as a cod, right? So I think that's important. So right now, we have Solomon. He is calculating, he is getting all these people, he's counting for this workforce. Why? I'm going to go to war. But then 1 Kings 5 happens, these two servants come in. You see, I'm going to interject them. I'm going to stack them on top of each other. 2 Chronicles 2 and 1 Kings 5 tell the same story, but you have to figure out where they are. Are you with me so far? Okay. So, Hiram, king of Tyre, sent his servants. We're back in 1 Kings 5. Keep that marker, though. We're going to go back and forth. So put your tab there, pen or pencil. We're going to go back and forth. Okay. I want you to see, what does verse 2 say? It says, for Hiram had always loved David, right? Hiram gives servants to come pay homage. Solomon sends to Hiram. Let's read 3 to 6. He's up. Good. What's your name? I'm sorry. 1 Kings 5, 3 to 6.
But it's not gonna be 5 to 6.
It's 15.
No, right now, does it start with Solomon sent to Hiram saying?
Yes, Michael. Okay. Yes.
Verse 16. And so 1 Kings 5, verse 16.
And Shalimah sent to Hiram, saying, you know how that David my father could not build a house unto the name of Yahuwah Elohim, for the wars which were about him on every side, until Yahuwah put them under the soles of his feet.
5. Or actually 6. You could finish with 6.
But now Yahuwah Elohim has given me rest on every side, so that there is neither adversary nor evil occur.
2 more verses.
Yep, 2 more.
2 more verses.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said 5 and 6.
And behold,
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 more.
I purpose to build a house unto the name of Yahuwah Elohim, as Yahuwah spoke unto El David my father, saying, your son whom I will set upon your throne in your room, he shall build a house unto my name. Now therefore command you that the hew me cedar trees out of Lebanon, and my servants shall be with your servants. And unto you I will give hire for your servants according to all that you shall appoint. For you know that there is not among us any that can skill to hew timber, like unto the seed of David.
Or Sidonians. Sidonian, or the Sidonians. This is important because we're going to come back to this. I'm just going to make a couple points because we're going to read that verse 6 or your verse 20. Thankfully, we have a Sefer interpreter in the house. Why would he respond to King of Aram, a prophecy that only David received? Hey, King of Aram, you remember when that prophecy that Yah said he couldn't build a house? Why I'm trying to say this is you're getting gleanings of the relationship that Hiram and David would have had. Right? They would have been pretty close. This is important, though, to identify. So, remember when he's like, you know how my father David could not build a house in the name of Yah? How does he know? How does he know that? Was he part of that? And what I'm going to present to you today is I think that when David called the leaders to prepare them to help Solomon, that Hiram was one of those people that he had called to help Solomon and prepare for him. You see this in 1 Chronicles 28 for those taking notes. But this is important because, again, he starts off the conversation reminding Hiram about the prophecy that David received, that there will be a son and he will be able to provide and build this particular house, right? All right, let's go to 2 Chronicles 2. Let's see if the same story is said and how it is spoken. We're in verse 3. Is everyone there? Are you following along with what I'm saying? We're kind of going back and forth. All right. We're in 2 Chronicles chapter 2. Okay, so we're in 2 Chronicles chapter 3. I would like someone to read 3 and 4. 2 Chronicles chapter 2, verse 3 and 4. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, she's got it.
Send me cedar lots as he did for my father David when you sent him cedar to build a palace to live in. Now I am about to build a temple for the name of the Lord my God and to dedicate it to him for burning fragrance incense before him, for setting out the consecrated bread regularly, and for making burnt offering every morning and evening and on the Sabbath, at the new moons and at the appointed festivals of the Lord our God. This is a lasting ordinance for Israel.
Perfect, thank you. Here we have slightly different things now. What are the different things that you could catch, right? The first one, in 1 Kings 5, he reminded him of the prophecy that God had told David, that Yahuwah told David, you're not going to build this. But 2 Chronicles 2, we see something different. He reminds him of the house that we read in 2 Samuel also, that remember that house you built, David? Do so for me. So now we have a little bit of salting of his own personal desire, his own desire. Remember, what does verse 1 start off with? He desired to build a temple for the name of Yah and a royal house for himself. Oh, so Solomon, he was looking to, take on that king position. And he wasn't feeling that house that David had, that the King Hiram had built. That was too small for my man. He's a dreamer. Okay? This is important though, right or wrong, right? Because now all of a sudden, that house that Hiram had already built for David isn't big enough. That's not, maybe... It doesn't have to be big enough. Maybe it was just something he wanted different. He wanted a royal house, is what it says. That's interesting. And then he tells Hiram, as you've dealt with David, my father, right? Deal with me. Remember all those dealings you have dealt with him? I want you to be close with me also, essentially. Behold, I am building a temple for the name of Yah, and I want you to dedicate it to him. Now watch this. This part I think is interesting at the end of verse 4. He says, so I can give to him sweet incense, continual showbread, burnt offerings, morning and evening, Sabbaths, new moons, and set feasts, Yah our God. This is an ordinance forever to Israel. So that's interesting because now he gives him a little evangelizing in there. This temple that we're going to be built, it's going to be built for feast days. It's going to be built for Sabbaths, new moons. We're going to be offering offerings, incense. Now he's like what I would say, like you would fatten the calf. You'd make it sound like it's so much better. You're giving to this thing. It's so beautiful. This is what we're going to be doing. Also sprinkling in a little evangelizing. Why would you evangelize to the king of Haram? Wouldn't he have already known what those things were doing? If he was close to David, he would have known what they were, right? I would hope if David was keeping these feasts, some of these feasts, he would have known what they were doing, right? Okay. He uses this evangelizing technique, and he commands, I like the desire thing. That's kind of important. And, okay, let's read 5 to 9. We're going to stop there. We're going to read 5 to 9 in 2 Chronicles. 5 to 9, and we're going to go back to 1 Kings. I'm going to come right, all right. I'll have Susan read real quick. Go ahead. Yep. Thank you, Beth.
And the house which I build is great, for our Elohim is greater than all mighty ones. But who is able to build him a house, since the heavens and the heavens of the heavens are unable to contain him?
Can you pause for just a second? I didn't want to cut you off, but I want to make a quick point here. This is important also because when he tells him he is the God, so he uses this evangelizing technique, and he says these Sabbaths, these new moons, these set feasts, and then he makes this discussion, this particular point he gives to the king of Haram, because Haram, they're full of idol. This is a pagan king. He says, this God, he also uses God as a singular. It's Eloheinu here. He says, and the temple which I build will be great, for our Eloheinu is greater than all the Elohim gods, right? Important. Our Eloheinu, one God, is greater than all of your gods, is what he's saying. And then he says, but who is able to build him a temple? And now he starts off with saying, I'm not trying to task the person who created the sky, the clouds, the trees, the dirt. I'm not trying to confine him into a little box. You cannot do that with my creator. You can't put him in a dwelling place that small, because he's not that small. He says, this specific temple is created so that way you can offer burnt sacrifice to him, a sweet incense. You can eat in his home. You can provide meals within his home. I think this is important because it also rings with what the Messiah said to the woman when she's on the well. And he says to her, there will be a time where you will not seek Yahuwah in the mountain or by the well or in Jerusalem. He'll only be found for those that seek him with spirit and truth. This is John 4, I think it's 21. It's off my notes, but it's essentially saying the same thing. So what then is the temple specifically for? The temple was specifically established for, honestly, bringing food unto him, and then he could dwell there amongst them, is what it says. His people could dwell amongst there. His blessing could dwell amongst there. The temple was only supposed to be like the flag. You know, when you're incredibly patriotic, that's what the temple was supposed to be. It's not that that would confine him and that the God of this world was just sleeping in that place. He said, have this so I could walk amongst you. So the sacrifices, the offerings, the burnt offerings, all the incense offerings. I think it's interesting because Solomon, he says something very important here because he doesn't tie the offerings to salvation. He doesn't say we have to offer this temple because Yah asks us to, otherwise we're going to be in sin. He says we got to do this because Yah wants his burnt offerings, which you can connect it with, but burnt offerings aren't always for sin. Yah likes covenants. He likes spending time with him. So burnt offering is his portion. So it's interesting is most offerings that come into the temple, his portion is a burnt offering. It gets burned all up and it goes unto Yah. So why does Yah want a burnt offering? Because he wants to be with you. If you're blessed, you'd be bringing the blessing into his house. He would then be blessing you more. You'd be blessing others more. It's like this continually, it's the prosperity gospel, unfortunately, not deteriorated. It's putting him first. It's putting God first. And I think it's important because he says he I'm not building him a house where he can only abide and live. Go ahead, Brother D.
So Kyle, do you think that, so this, we're talking political stuff here, right? You got king with another king, right? Like an alliance being built. You got some diplomatic kind of stuff going on here, right?
Yeah.
You got economy that's important to them both.
Yeah.
And Solomon is saying this is a way to partake in God's economic structure. The temple's not for our, well, it's a byproduct, I guess, right? If you partake in God's economic infrastructure, it will bless our physical,
bless our
everything.
It'll bless our gathering, our relationship, everything we put our hands to.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Yeah, that was exactly it, Brother D. The infrastructure was set. Thank you, Miss Susan. Is there any questions so far? Remember what we read in 1 Kings 5? Go ahead, Nikki.
Wait, so Haram was a pagan follower?
Yes, use that mic. Yep,
Okay.
it is important. Yes. Haram was a pagan follower.
Okay,
Yes.
And he was close.
And he was close with David?
And I think he was close with David. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And you're like, wait, why?
Yeah.
Right? Why would he do that? Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So Haram helped David build his
House.
His house?
Yes.
So David allowed a pagan to help, but that was something he wasn't supposed to do.
Yes.
Okay, so Solomon is saying the same thing, that he wants him to help him?
Yes.
Because David was like, well, if you can help David, you can help me.
Exactly.
Okay, that's what I'm sure.
No, thank you. Perfect. Yeah. That was beautiful. Yes, exactly. So, like I had said, he had set him up and he had done all these beautiful things, but what he also did was he also offered him his downfalls. Right?
So Solomon sending him this letter is trying to convince him, like, hey, you may be a pagan, but like, this is what we're doing, you should join.
Right. Yeah, you got those good trees for Yah, right? And then, so basically what he's saying is exactly that. In 1 Kings 5, he says, remember that prophecy David shared with you? So then it's interesting because these are like the pagan people that we have around. Imagine telling them a prophetic word that Yah had given you. You don't think they're watching to see if this is going to come to fruition, and in watching your every move, right? So it's interesting I don't think you should have pagan friends specifically. I'm not giving the oust of that. I'm just saying that it is, in a political stance, very something that is going to be something you're, common. We'll just say. Go ahead, Brother D.
Yeah, again,
I
I did want to talk about this actually. I'm glad you brought it up. But like, it's not like Haram and Solomon are praying together and in a temple, right? This is strictly political.
Yeah,
it's a political relationship.
There's
this
no
has to do business. Yeah, it's business.
There's no coexist happening.
But my question to you was going to be, did David ever be as aggressive evangelically to Haram? Have you seen something like this statement? My God is greater than all gods. Because that's a good way to ruin
a relationship.
A good political relationship.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Very risky.
No, you don't, but you do see something interesting is that the prophecy that came to David was shared. What do we got? Who's over there? Well, go ahead, Jill, right?
Yeah.
Jill? And then I'll go back around.
It's an example
Just grab that thing. Don't be afraid to grab it right up. Go ahead.
of how God even uses the enemy as our footstool.
Yeah.
So he'll always use that one person that is not good, that's seedy, and he gets the glory for it.
Sure.
So Hiram had great trees. So yeah, he wants the best.
Yeah.
And Solomon was like a trillionaire in today's standards. He was rich. So of course he wanted the best. So God has to get the best, and he's going to get it wherever he can get it, just because he created all great and wonderful things.
That's right.
And even in politics, today, things are shady, but it's always going to be for God's glory, no matter what. And he's going to use everybody.
Yeah. In that circle, to
Yes.
that plan.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think David did drop like seeds during political conversations and stuff. He likely over wine and cheese and
Wine and cheese.
grapes
Now we're
and
making
music,
it. Yeah.
and was like, you know what? My God is good.
Yeah.
Tell me about your, no, never mind, but mine is good.
Yeah.
I think he had to have done that, and that's just marketing.
Yeah.
And that's business.
I think it's business, but I also think he might have trusted him.
Yes.
I think Hiram would have, I think he's establishing himself as someone that is trustworthy specifically here. He doesn't have to send his servants to Solomon to pay homage. He could have just been like, I served David, I didn't serve you. You know, and I mean, he didn't have to. One more thing before I go to the next person. I also think that Yah was after the king of Hiram's soul.
Yes.
And I think, like, that's just, it's not just the wood or the other things or all that stuff is fine. I think he was blessed because of it. But he who blesses Israel will be blessed, right? So I think he was also, think of this as Solomon was rich because of this particular individual. And then this particular individual has the opportunity to partake of the King of Kings building like that temple of, but prior to the Messiah, Solomon was the king, like the king, you know? Brother D?
Yeah, I don't know any more insight to Hiram, other than what you might know.
Yeah.
But it could be, right, completely supernatural. It could be God impressing it on Hiram's heart to have this relationship with David. Or it could be totally
not good.
Carnal. It could be, yo, David's laying a smackdown on all the nations around him. Like, he is a warrior and winning. I want to be cool with this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's perseverance of life.
Yeah.
It's to preserve life, right? It's the perseverance. It's like you just said. It's kind of like what I believe the Gibeonites did. Do you guys remember what the Gibeonites did in Joshua? They came in and they formed this like major lie to preserve life. They ended up making a covenant with Israel. And then now they're water bearing and building and wood bearers for the Levitical house. There was someone over here. Miss Susan, did you have anything before we go? Is there any other questions or Chris? Yeah, I'm gonna have you read now 6 to 9. Yeah. In 2 Chronicles.
Yeah, I think it's, oh yeah, I didn't finish.
2
six.
Chronicles chapter 2, 6 to 9.
Yeah, I didn't finish 6.
Nope.
Okay. I'll just start at the top of 6. But who is able to build him a house, since the heavens and the heavens of the heavens are unable to contain him? Who am I then, that I should build him a house, except to offer before him? And now, send me at once a man who knows to work in gold, and in silver, and in bronze, and in iron, and in purple, and crimson, and blue, and knowing to engrave with the skilled men who are with me in Yehuda and Jerusalem, who David my father has prepared. And send me cedar, cypress, and algum logs from Lebanon, for I know that your servants know to cut timber in Lebanon. And see, my servants are with your servants, even to prepare plenty of timber for me, for the house that I am building is great and marvelous. In my version here, house is capitalized.
Temple.
Yours says temple?
It's
Yeah,
it's
mine's-
dwelling place. It's
House
yeah.
is capitalized.
Okay, so we read 1 Kings chapter 5, and we saw at the end of verse 6 it said Sidonians. At the end of this verse 9, we don't have the word Sidonians. We just have that they're servants and they know how to cut timber. I know that doesn't seem like super relevant, but there's incredible detail in the small things. And I gotta honestly give hats off to my wife on this, because she always challenges me on these tiny little things. For me, I can make a whole lot of points on Solomon, but it's these tiny little things where I've learned how to read the Bible, where I pick up on that they just radically change everything in the story. So why doesn't it say Sidonians? Why does it say servants there? Let's go back to 1 Kings real quick, just to confirm what I'm saying. Go to 1 Kings 5. For those in the Sefer, I think that's 15:20. If I got the number right. All right. So 1 Kings 15:20 in the Sefer, 1 Kings 5 verse 6 in your regular Bible Masoretic text, It says, "Now therefore command that they cut down cedars for me from Lebanon, and my servants will be with your servants, and I will pay you wages for your servants according to whatever you say. For you know," this particular point right here is interesting. "For you know there is none among us who has this skill to cut timber like the Sidonians." So Solomon makes a pretty solid point here. He's like, but those Sidonians, they really know how to take down trees. Like they can cut trees. Like they're real true arborists. Where did this word Sidon come from? Who are they descendants from? And the first time we actually see who they're from, you actually find this in Genesis 10, verse 15. You don't have to go there. They are descendants from Canaan, which is interesting. These are Canaanites. They're ites. They're Canaanites. And Joshua 13, verses 4 to 6, they're specifically the group of people that the children of Israel are supposed to drive out of their place. The Sidonians and all the ites, they're supposed to come in and destroy all of them. I find that interesting and fascinating that Solomon is claiming that there's one particular group of people that the children of Israel were supposed to destroy like way back when, are actually ones he's asking to come work for him. That's interesting. Now I want you to turn here. As a people, Israel was supposed to conquer. That leads us to Judges 3. Let's go to Judges chapter 3, and we're going to be in verses 1 and 4. Millie, can you read that? I don't know. You're going to have to help me with the Sefer, okay?
No, it's only verse 2. It's not
Okay.
everything.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Judges chapter 3. We're on who are these Sidonians, and what are they? And remember, the king of Tyre has these Canaanites, these Sidonians, as his servants, as do the children of Israel.
Judges chapter 3.
Yep. You're going to read 1 to 4.
Now, these are the nations which Yahuwah left, to prove Yisrael by them, even as many of Yisrael as had not known all the wars of Canaan. Only that the generations of the children of Israel might know, to teach them war, at the least such as before knew nothing thereof. Namely, 5 lords of the Pelishtim, the Philistines, and all the Canaanim,
Canaanites, yeah.
and the Sidonians,
The Sidonians, oh, wow.
and the Hivim,
The Hivites.
that Mount Lebanon, from Mount Baal Hermon unto the entering in of Hamath. And they were to prove Yisrael by them, to know whether they would hearken unto the commandments of Yahuwah, which he commanded their fathers by the hand of Moshe.
Thank you. So that's kind of important. They were supposed to drive them out. Joshua 13, drive them out. Judges 3, all right, well, you didn't drive them out. Now I'm going to place them upon you to be a stumbling block unto you. To curse, essentially, to be the stumbling block upon you, to see if you're actually, to test you, to see if you're going to follow my commandments or not. So these, go ahead. Joshua 13, verses 4 and 6. Yep. So Judges 3, specifically what we just read, I just didn't want to, you could read that on your own time, but Joshua 13, he says to go, conquer all these places. And Judges, they don't do that. They don't have the faith to continue to do that. So this is important because now these particular nations are going to be stumbling blocks for the children of Israel. Did Solomon just ask for a stumbling block to cut his trees?
Yeah.
And then praised him. It's just, this is important. Political move. Don't know if this was the right move. Okay, so, good, yeah.
So I'm just noticing, compared to when Moses was building the tabernacle, the difference how it seems more like Yah provided when Moses was building the tabernacle and the people were the ones who were willingly giving the offerings for it.
Yeah.
Where here it seems like Solomon, in his own effort, is trying to get all the material and things like that.
Well, the effort that David had already established for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, and side question, if you get to it later.
Yeah.
So where did Solomon get the plans to build the temple?
It's from David.
And where did David get the plans?
Exactly, yeah. It's interesting. He says that, we actually went over this last time, but the the plans he said that Yah had given him.
Okay.
So yeah, I've always thought that was interesting that that's not really interpreted, you know, that discourse didn't happen. But then Yah also shows Solomon. Solomon also makes the comment that he builds a temple the way that Yah had also showed him. I believe when Yah comes to him, I think that's later in 1 Kings, I think it's 6 or 8, something like that, where he also makes that comment. So unless somebody knows, I don't know a specific time where there's not like a Mount Sinai moment.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they make the big deal about how Moses got the plans, but then the temple just goes up.
I've always wondered that, to be honest. Yeah, I have. Brother D?
So I was looking into this wood cutting thing, which I never did before. I'm just doing it right now to interact with your study. What can you do with, in the sense of, what are your thoughts on Joshua 9? I think it's 24 to 27, about the Gibeonites being used as woodcutters during Joshua's time.
Yeah, according to them with the Sidonians, like versus, because the Joshua 9, the Gibeonites were supposed to be the people that, because after they made that promise, this is actually what you just said was a very important part. When they made the oath that they were going to do it, that's who Solomon should have sought out after. The Gibeonites, because of that oath, not the Sidonians, which were are the stumbling blocks. You're going to see why this is so important. Because the Gibeonites, when they made that covenant with the children of Israel in Joshua 9, they also made the covenant that they couldn't serve other gods. Why? Because they were the Levite servants. They couldn't eat what was holy. They couldn't be a part of anything. And that covenant that they made, they also made a confession that they couldn't serve any other gods but the God of
Gibeonites made a covenant.
Yeah.
Yeah. First of all, they're Gentiles. They're foreigners. They're not Israelites. They made a covenant that they won't worship any other
gods. Go
a
step further. They're Canaanites. They're cursed people and make a covenant with Yah. And their portion is the Levitical portion. Yeah, so if we just take that, like, they're the woodcutters, the water bearers. They were supposed to be the people that you would go to. It's a vital part that you just said that. Exactly. Is everyone following along with everything that we're going over? A lot of back and forth. I want to make sure we got it. So then Judges 3, these Sidonians and these Hivites, all these specifically these Canaanites, were left to test them to see if they're going to follow the commandments or not. I find this interesting. If you just do a little like study based on who the Tyre people are, they're a Phoenician people, and specifically I think this is like so crazy fascinating. They would serve Baal and Ashtoreth. If you don't know who Ashtoreth is, you'll know her by her other names. Asherah. Some people may know her by Ishtar. Some people may know her by, because there's like, it goes across, Tanith, Astarte, which would have been a Roman Greek. This particular female goddess that is the goddess of the Sidonians has been passed down through generations. This is the Asherah poles that we literally see right here, that we can look onto right now, and people think that you don't think the scripture is real. It's sad to say, because right here, these Sidonians had a lot of other gods. Okay, so Hiram, king of Tyre, is essentially king over all the pagan nations that fled from Israel in David's conquest. If you look at where Tyre was on a map, I wanted to do this, but where Tyre is on the map, this is why the Sidonians and other people would have fled to them. They would have fled to him in David's reign. Where am I? Leftover people in the wars and conquering one force David and Solomon established. So who did the Sidonians worship? Ashtoreth, we just went over that. Now, 1 Kings 5, it is important to identify that Hiram knew the prophecies. However, in 2 Chronicles 2, we see Israelite, like this Israelite, I call it a God flex. Hey, Hiram, this is happening, as Brother D said, a byproduct. But I call it this is happening because it's a God of Israel God flex. Your God is way smaller than what I believe in. I don't believe in this plurality. I believe in one, right? I think that's kind of important. Now we get to David's fall. Hiram is vital to helping build the temple. He's helping fund the temple, which we're going to learn about. However, to skip ahead, we're going to skip ahead a little bit about these Sidonians, and we're going to go to 1 Kings chapter 9. I want you to see something. Because David's in pretty deep with this Hiram character. And so is now Solomon. Now Solomon, he's really connected with him. So 1 Kings chapter 9, 10 to 14. So again, this is ahead in the study. I just want to preface this so that way when we get to 1 Kings 9, I'm sure this is going to be something we talk about again, but we got to carry these things across each chapter. So what we talk about today is going to be relevant next Shabbat. It's going to be relevant each one, stacking this information upon. Okay, so 1 Kings 9, 10 to 14. Brother D?
Now it happened at the end of 20 years, when Solomon had built the two houses, the house of Yahuwah and the king's house.
Oh, snap. Took 20 years to build this house.
That's a big project. Hiram, the king of Tyre, had supplied Solomon with cedar and cypress and gold, as much as he desired. That King Solomon then gave Hiram 20 cities in the land of Galilee.
Whoa!
What?
He gave Israelite land to this
What?
king?
This dude tripping. Is that bad? That's bad.
That's not good.
Nah.
I'm going to give you cities that the children of
Supposed to
Israel
be for the
fought for.
tribes, yeah.
And this is interesting because if you actually look at this, this was a political move. And why that is because the cities that he gave him were specific to, he could not trade with all the other places. There was only one way in and out. That's important to blessing Israel. Okay, he was not trying to bless the king of Tyre, he was trying to bless Israel. So a lot of people look at this as like, well, David did the strategic move to bless him. Well, yeah, you did that. But you just gave land that was promised and blessed to Israelites to a pagan king. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Wow. Sheesh.
Verse 12.
Verse 12. Then Hiram went from Tyre to see the cities which Solomon had given him, but they did not please him. So he said, what kind of cities?
No. Yeah. He got this gift and was like, I don't want this.
I don't like this.
Yeah.
So he said, what kind of cities are these which you have given me, my brother? He said,
My what?
brother.
My what? My what? My brother. Yeah, this is important because
did y'all make with each
yes,
other?
exactly. He's aligning. He's playing too close to the fence.
Mm-hmm. And he called them the land of Kabul, as they are this day. Then Hiram sent the king 120 talents of gold.
Thank you. Yes. What were you saying?
Is that the same Kabul, like now Kabul?
No. So what that word specifically means is good for nothing. It's Kabul or Kabul. It's just good for nothing. Like you're good for nothing. Yeah.
Not
it's
the cabal.
Not the cabal.
Not the cabal.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking the same thing for a second. I was like, wait, hold up.
Well,
It's connected, Kyle? Can you shed some light?
They are connected. They're both good for nothing.
They're both good for nothing. That's right.
All right. So, but this is important because we see Solomon take a step that he shouldn't have stepped in. Now he's giving Yah's portion to someone he shouldn't have done this. Okay. What does he keep doing then? All right, what I like to do is I like to say, well, keep down this train, right? Solomon gives Sidonians Israelite cities. This mistake is definitely not a good one, even if the cities given to Hiram would only benefit Israel. Now, I'm not saying these cities were of great influence because they're not. I'm just sharing that Solomon intermixed a lot and he had a lot of things that he should have kept separate. The children of Israel's blessings should have been kept separate. He was intermixing with them, right? Let's go to 1 Kings 11, 1-6. We're going to see this is progression. 1 Kings 5, we see he's making this pact. 1 Kings 9, we see he's given cities. This Hiram guy's gotten in deep with Solomon. Paul, would you like to read
Yeah, sure.
1 Kings 11, 1-6? Is everyone following along with what I'm saying? We're good? Are you not
But
following
King
along?
Solomon,
Oh, good. I'm sorry. Are you good? We're good? All right, go ahead.
but King Solomon loved many foreign women, as well as the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Sodomites, and Hittites, from the nations of whom the Lord had said to the children of Israel, "You shall not intermarry with them, nor they with you. Surely they will turn away your hearts after their gods." Solomon clung to these in love. And he had 700 wives, princesses,
You could
and
pause. Hold on, real quick. Where are you?
middle of 3.
Okay, go ahead. Keep going.
And his wives turned away his heart. That's the end of 3.
Go ahead. Keep going. I'm sorry. Go to 5.
Okay. For it was so, when Solomon was old, that his wives turned his heart after other gods, and his heart was not loyal to the Lord his God, as was the heart of his fathers David. For Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Sidonians.
The who?
Sidonians.
The Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Sidonians.
The ones that were helping build them.
The one that helped build them. Oh, so this intermixing, this promise, this covenant, this blessing, this beautiful alignment, this political thing leads to him falling away from Yah and marrying and intermixing. Go ahead.
And after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord and did not fully follow the Lord as did his father David.
Thank you. You can stop there. So, what then were these specific nations established for? To test the children of Israel. While Solomon was granted an enormous amount of wisdom and blessing and everything else, he still fell short because he intermixed. This goes to show you, this is a lesson in our own life. This is a lesson specifically for us. If Solomon, with the anointing, the double portion of counsel that was given, could not refrain from the intermixing, and then when he would do that intermixing, fell into the trap, I would have to say then we're all also very liable to fall into that same trap. Therefore, we have to hold that guard all the more where we should not be connecting. Doesn't matter what political value, what financial value, what benefit that you have, because they are stumbling blocks upon your faith. Pretty interesting, right, about Sidonians. You send those guys, they're perfect at cutting trees. I guess their daughters were also good at worshiping idols. And their sisters and everybody else. Because Solomon was attracted to that. Go ahead.
Do you think it would have been okay to stop at letting them build, or they shouldn't even done that either? Should have been the Gibeonites, like we said earlier.
It should have been Yah, and he would have went to him and said, "Who am I supposed to?"
But the Israelites.
From the
qualified
Israelites.
to do this.
Yes. I wanted to go into this, but we're not going to have time. But if you go through scripture, specifically Ezekiel 28, and there's a couple times, Tyre is judged for its enormous amount of commerce. And I think this is interesting because we're going to read something in 1 Kings 5 where it sounds like the king of Aram makes a confession or a conversion. But I don't know if you can actually, and this is why I'm saying I'm doing the dirty work first, and then now when we go back to that, we can interpret, well, was this a God? Because if he's a king that is also following God in his ways and he's watching Solomon, they'd be getting rid of all those Ashtoreth poles. They'd be getting rid of all those idols. They'd be doing all that. Imagine what that would have looked like if that were to be the case. And he would have helped build that temple. He would have then sacrificed at that temple, worshipped at that temple. But his immense amount of commerce and his gold and his riches and everything else, it just goes to show you that that was actually a stumbling block to Solomon. Now, when you do read Ezekiel 28, and it transfers from the king of Tyre, and it makes that connection to Satan, you now know why it would do that. You're the anointed cherub that walked upon the coals, and you're reading this, and you're like, wait, are we still talking about the king of Tyre here? Or are we talking And you can see that either way, the intermixing is not good, and that's what Satan always has done. He has always gotten the children of Israel to intermix, most of the time using women and the fall of the lust. Respectfully, that's what happens. It's women in full of lust and men full of lust. And then that drops and creates this destruction path. It is no coincidence that in Acts 15, one of those things are you got to get rid of all that sexual immorality out of your life. If you want the Holy Spirit to dwell within you, you got to separate from all that pagan stuff that's still being passed around and very connected to today. Any questions? Go ahead, brother. Who's over there?
Just a follow-up question on that.
Yeah.
What would you say about, so far, the overall lesson would be regarding doing business with unbelievers versus, like there's business and then there's sacred things of Yah.
Yeah.
Like getting involved with sacred things like, I don't know, maybe building a congregation, I guess. Or,
Sure.
Right? Like, where are you at? What do you say?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, and I think important because I actually always struggle with this because I intermix like my workplace with church, and you got to be careful of doing that. You can be the same person, but you can't sow two different seeds in the same field. So this is also very important too. You're gonna tackle something that is unholy and then mix that with something that is holy. It doesn't mean I can't be the same person whether I'm at work or at church. It just means that I have to be careful on what they would look like and on mixing them specifically. So for me, the things that are holy are the things that are holy. The things that are work are the things that are work. I don't like to intermix the two. I never have. Don't love that. Blitz is predominantly my company, but I'm a 49% profit owner. I have to be 49% because the other owner has a couple licenses. He has to be 51%. Tomorrow he could post something about Halloween. I've been doing everything I can that he doesn't. I did not post anything about Sukkot on my business. It doesn't matter. Because if you go on my profile, who I am, who Locust and Honey Ministries is, you'll know every single thing. You'll know with my actions when I deal with you, oh, he's different. He's honest. You'll know every single thing, but I can't intermix the two because one is holy, one is different. So then the conversation, if he would have, this is important too, I think David knowing this, had Hiram build his house, but he doesn't build the Ark of the Covenant. He doesn't help him build anything else. There is absolutely nothing else holy that David asked Hiram to do. He was just what I would call somebody like that you would confide with or have conversations with. He was that business partner.
Hiram only built David's house, not the temple?
Only built David's house for David. When Solomon comes into play, Solomon asks him to cut all the wood, build all the things. Matter of fact, the person that is sent, we're going to get to that, comes from Hiram specifically.
Yeah, during David's time, Hiram didn't do the temple.
No,
he
just build his house.
He just did David's house.
That's right.
His personal house.
That's right.
Solomon took another step.
And then asked him.
Okay.
This is important because if David did ask him to do it, Hiram would have came to Solomon saying, I have come to build the house that David told me you were building. This is important. That's not what happens. Solomon says, remember that prophecy that happened and this, and in 1 Kings, remember that prophecy that happened that David couldn't build a house, but it would only be me. And then he then tells him in 2 Chronicles, by the way, we're going to be offering these things on that feast. We're going to celebrate Sukkot. We're going to celebrate these feasts. We're going to celebrate Sabbaths, new moons. We're going to be offering all these offerings because he is the one true God. It's interesting because he's connecting the total. He's now coming into a realm where he's allowing Hiram into the holy place and saying, you can be part of this holy place. This is what we're building. Do you want to be a part of that? And Hiram agrees. You'll see, Hiram agrees, I want to do those things. Now, the problem that I see with that is then when the intermixing starts to happen, when that starts, they start to the point where Solomon gives him cities. Who knows who comes through those doors then? There's no more protection. There's no more house protection.
That idolatry is inside.
That idolatry is now in the house.
Yeah. Chris? Yeah.
So were you saying that Hiram is the king of Tyre in Ezekiel 28?
I don't think so. But he may be.
Okay.
Because that would have been like a lot further along. But I think it's referring to Yah is sad for the king of Tyre there, as if they were anointed and blessed and given a portion. When you read Ezekiel 28, it doesn't make sense unless Yah was after their salvation. And then he connects that with Satan as falling. Well, you can't fall from something unless you had it. You had a position and you fell. You understand what I mean? So whoever that king was, you can also see that Haram fits that pretty well. But yeah.
I just got what you asked. No, I'm sorry. I'm not gonna. I'm just in my head. Wow.
Is everyone good so far? We're good?
Do you know who the king, you remember who the king was?
In Ezekiel's time? No, I don't. Just because Babylon was going, Babylon was going around conquering everyone.
Okay.
It's 28. Isaiah 14 is the one you're thinking of.
Yeah.
Ezekiel 28. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know because Babylon he's walking around. Nebuchadnezzar's kicking butt around that time.
Oh, and one thing I wanted to share, just listening to your study and what you're saying here, I feel like there's a lesson here because sometimes people think, well, if I get this person who's not a believer to be involved in this project with me, right? Maybe they might get saved in the process, right? And then here, the opposite happens. He's working with these pagan people, and Solomon goes from, Yah, teach me your wisdom, to worshiping idols. And to the point where in chapter 11, verse 7, he says that he was also sacrificing to Molech, and there's only one way you do that, that's child sacrifice. So Solomon was not just bowing down to pagan idols, he was also like sacrificing children to these pagan idols. And it's just like, we can't like work with non-believers to save them. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work that way.
No. Yeah, you
Or
gotta
let them into sacred.
Yeah, we can't let them in the
sacred business.
Exactly.
Holy
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're unclean.
Like a secular musician,
That's
producer. Yo, I want to work with Chris Brown's producer on my
Yeah.
next project, and his
Yeah.
name's gonna be on my album. Like, no.
Yeah, that's exactly what
perfect.
I'll learn
I
from
was
you.
thinking.
I'll
Yeah.
learn from you, bro, from a distance. I'll
Yeah.
learn your tricks and go home and do it myself.
Yeah.
Praise,
But bringing them in the ministry does not save them, right? Just because they're in a Christian movie or they're or in some sort of production, it doesn't mean that, oh, now they're going to find Yah and change their ways and stuff.
Yeah, I was welcome to leave a church over something like this.
Oh.
Yeah, there was a rapper who was in this church, and he had a video on BET with Trina or something like that, and he was the top guy to do youth group conferences and rap for the youth group conferences and stuff. And I went to the bishop like, yo, have you seen this? Have you seen this website? Look. And he was at first saying, oh, thank you, you're a watchman in these last days, I appreciate you. And the next thing you know, he started using him more. He started using him more. Like one time, I think he like just did it on purpose for me. On a Sunday, he was like, David, come on up, while the choir was singing. Come on up, rap the testimony. I was like, yo, what's going on? I thought you said you were gonna address this. He said, if you don't like how I'm running my church, you should find another church. I was like, wow. Wish you would have told me that first time. Jeez, he had me linked, dangling the carrot for like 5 weeks.
Yeah, key there's my
Oh yeah,
100%.
Yep. No, and that guy was bringing in camera crews. He was bringing in sound guys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you add it together. Yeah, there's a huge part of mixing unholy and holy.
Yeah.
Specifically the people.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, so recap real quick. We see Tyre, king of Aram, sent servants to pay respect to Solomon. That's 1 Kings 5. Solomon speaks of the prophecies of him being king and the house of Yah to be rebuilt. In 2 Chronicles 2, we see Solomon wants to build himself a house and Yah a house, making them both connected. Strategically explains to the king of Tyre what the house will be built for, and says, send your servants and my servants in 1 Kings. Well, King says specifically the Sidonians, who were supposed to be kicked out of the land, but Yah kept them to see if the children of Israel would fall away. So, does everybody understand so far? So we're in 1 Kings chapter 5. We're in verse 7. We're going to read 7 to 9. Is everybody following along? I'm sorry for the back and forth, but we're good? Okay? If you have questions, you can ask, or you can ask after study, whatever is convenient for you. Okay. Go ahead. You got it? Okay. Thank you.
So it was when Hiram heard the words of Solomon that he rejoiced and said, Blessed be Yahuwah this day, for he has given David a wise son over this great people. Then Hiram sent to Solomon, saying, I have considered the message which you sent me, and I will do all you desire concerning the cedar and the cypress logs. My servants shall bring them down from Lebanon to the sea, and I will float them in rafts by sea to the place you indicate to me, and will have them broken apart there.
Chris, finish. I'm sorry, you off, but just finish verse 9, please.
Yeah. Float them in rafts by the sea to the place you indicate to me, and I will have them broken there. Then you can take them away, and you shall fulfill my desire by giving food for my household.
Okay, so I wanted to pause for a quick second because it says in verse 7, Blessed be Yah this day, blessed be Yahuwah for this day, for he has given David a wise son over his great people. So let's go to 2 Chronicles real quick. Flip over there, 2 Chronicles 2. We should see the same thing. He says the same thing, right? No, he does not. He gives him a slightly different blessing. I think this is important. Verse 11.
2 Chronicles 2:11.
Yep. We didn't read verse 10, but it's the same thing. You'll just see Solomon offers him food for exchange. Okay, verse 11. Then Hiram, king of Tyre, answered in writing, which he sent to Solomon, because Yahuwah loves his people, he has made you king over them. Not quite the same thing, right? Blessed be Yahuwah this day, for he has given David a wise son over this great people. I think it's kind of cool, while it's inferring and saying the same thing, they're telling a story. They're both telling you something. Blessed be David. That's true. Blessed be Yahuwah this day, for he has given David a wise son. Oh, it makes sense. But then he also says, because Yahuwah loves his people, he has made you king over them. Remember what David's prayer was over the children of Israel? Remember he said, when Yah said to him, he said, how am I to judge your people? I need wisdom. Look at this great city, Israel. I need wisdom to do it. So then that's why Yah would have given him wisdom. I think that's important because it also goes to show you why Solomon was blessed, David was blessed. It was miraculous work. It was because Yahuwah loved his people that he even set those things in order anyway. This is very important. Solomon does fall away and does all those things. Everything is set for Yah to still love his people, and there's an infrastructure. While there is a lot of hard trials and difficulties along the way, there's a story of redemption all throughout the story. So Yahuwah loves his people. Verse 12, Hiram also said, Blessed be Yahuwah Elohim. Is everyone there? 2 Chronicles 2, verse 12. So now this particular prayer aligns with 1 Kings 5. Okay? Blessed be Yahuwah Elohim of Israel, who made heaven and earth, for he has given King David a wise son, endowed with prudence and understanding, who will build a temple for Yahuwah, a royal house for himself. So now he then claims a blessing over him, right? And watch what he says. Blessed be Yahuwah Elohim, God of Israel. That's kind of important that he even makes that declaration.
Yeah.
Who made heaven and earth. Whoa. The king of Aram just responded with a declaration of faith. In some churches, this just might mean you got a card and you were saved. I'm serious. I'm not trying to be like this is a kind of an important thing though, right? There was a confession. He raised his hand at the altar. For he has given King David a wise son, endowed with prudence and understanding, who will build a temple for Yahuwah and a royal house for himself. Okay, now we're going to pause for a second. Actually, we're just going to read 13 to 15. Nikki, can you read 13 to 15, 2 Chronicles 2? I'm sorry to go back and forth, but I think this is important to the story. They're both telling the same thing, so don't get lost on that. The point is that they tell something slightly different. If you've ever read the Gospels, a lot of people say the Gospels are filled with all these imperfections. Well, they're not imperfections. They're telling the completion of the story from different angles. They're telling us, everyone is telling a different story from a different piece. That's nothing different than what we're reading right now. So the Gospels and the very makeup of the Gospels is no different than 1 Kings 5 and 2 Chronicles 2. Two different people are writing this. Two different timelines, two different stories, two different perspectives. They're just, they're giving their place, their position, what was told at that time. Go ahead, Nikki. You can read 13 to 15, 2 Chronicles 2.
And now I have sent a skillful man endowed with understanding, Hiram, my master craftsman, the son of a woman of the daughters of Dan, and his father was a man of Tyre, skilled to work in gold and silver, bronze and iron, stone and wood, purple and blue, fine linen and crimson, and to make any engraving and to accomplish any plan which may be given to him, with your skillful men and with the skillful men of my lord David your father. Now therefore the wheat, the barley, the oil, and the wine, which my lord has spoken of them, let him send to his servants.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a new person in the picture, Hiram. You won't see him in 1 Kings 5, you'll see him later in 1 Kings, but this is important because at this exchange, a promise comes. Okay, so let's go to 1 Kings 5 now. We're going to finish 1 Kings 5.
Can I just mention something?
Yeah, of course, please.
It's just interesting that you actually have.
Michael, right?
Yes, it just jumped out at me that you have a witness of Dan, the tribe of Dan, and their idolatry.
Oh, man, I'm actually
mixing with the men of Tyre.
I'm gonna
Dan and the men of Tyre.
I'm gonna hit this hard actually. We're not gonna do it today, but we're gonna do this in a couple Sabbaths. I tried to break this up a little smaller and it's going longer. But yes, and actually very important is when you read this in 1 Kings chapter 8, you'll see it doesn't say Dan, it says that he was from the tribe of Naphtali. A lot of people, when I was somebody that was confessing that the Bible was full of mistakes, that was one of them. Because Dan, and in 1 Kings 8, it says Naphtali. All you have to do is there's a scripture I love. It says that it is the glory of Yah to conceal a matter, but it is the honor of kings to search it out. I'm in a place where I'm not trying to convince people that the Bible is wrong. I'm in a place where I can handle your objections to the scripture, and I can give you the facts to them. And Joshua, specifically Joshua, I think it's 19. I'm going to go into this a little later. But Naphtali, I'm going to go into this 2 weeks from now when we're into 1 Kings specifically. Naphtali, when he says you're from the tribe of Naphtali, in Joshua, the tribe of Dan could not conquer their land. So where they went to the northern part of Naphtali, and that's where they dwelt. This is important. So when it says the tribe of Naphtali or the tribe of Dan, they would have also intermixed, Mike. So that is a beautiful point. Like you said, their idolatry, their place, their everything that we just read. No coincidence either that they were given multiple opportunities, as we read with the kids, as Samson and everybody. There's a lot of judges that come from the tribe of Dan. Just something interesting to take into consideration. When it says Naphtali, and then when it says Dan, that particular scripture, it's not a contradiction. It's actually telling you from what part of where Dan he would live. And they were the part that would have lived on the northern kingdom of Naphtali.
I have something.
Yeah.
It's funny when reading this because it reminds me of like discourse that you have like with a customer. You know,
Yeah.
like you're a contractor, you're having discourse with a customer. 'Cause especially in like verse 16 I was reading, it says, and we will cut wood from Lebanon. So this is Hiram saying this, and we will cut wood from Lebanon. As much as you need, we will bring it to you in rafts by sea to Joppa, and you will carry it up to Jerusalem. So it's funny because like he's like, all right, we'll cut the wood, but when it gets there, you and your guys have to carry it up.
It's contracted.
He's making a note there saying, all right, we'll deliver it.
Yeah.
But you guys then from there have to bring it up.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny seeing that because
shipping and handling not included.
It's like an additional note when you're writing an estimate.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's true, bro. I totally got what you said there, cause
Curbside delivery.
yeah, I agree. Shipping and handling extra.
Yeah, like Hiram and his guys, they took a picture, they dropped the wood off, they took a picture of it. Yeah.
Sent it to King, yeah.
Delivered.
Solomon. Yep. The first Amazon Prime. All right, so I think that's so yes, back to Michael. I do agree with you, man. I think it's interesting that Dan being out of all those things, and then I also think it's interesting is that he was particularly that child that Hiram was a widow essentially. His mom was a widow, and it's a mystery how Hiram was really like paid. But I'm assuming as he furnished the entire, why would Yah's spirit be upon him specifically? I've always wondered. I've always questioned based off of that specific thing. And I have a feeling that it had to do with his mother having lack, just because the tithe was supposed to take care of the widow. And I think the very house function being built was establishing that, is that Hiram would have been working, so his mom would be taken care of because she was an Israelite. Which is interesting because that also connects on what tithes and offerings were supposed to be. They weren't supposed to be a riches, they were supposed to be a savings account for when something like that were to happen. Okay, let's continue 1 Kings 5, and let's finish, let's go, where are we up to, 7? We're up to 9. We just read 9, we're up to 10. Let's go 10 to the rest. Nicolette, you just read, and then, yep, she just read. You want to read? Chapter 5, we're in verse 10. Can you read 10 to 13?
So Hiram supplied as much cedar and cypress timber as Solomon desired. In return, Solomon sent him an annual payment of 100,000 bushels of wheat for his household and 110,000 gallons of pure olive oil. Wow. So
that's like big money here now.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
insane.
Olive oil is like gold.
Expensive.
Yearly, yeah.
So the Lord gave wisdom to Solomon, just as he had promised, and Hiram and Solomon made a formal alliance of peace. Then King Solomon conscripted a labor force of 30,000 men from all Israel. Wow. He was.
Yeah, he was. Well, this is
this wisdom we're talking about.
This is
now?
yes.
Fear of the Lord.
Fear of Yah.
This wisdom with economics and moving money and delegation and.
I think a mixture.
Both.
I think both. I think a mixture of both.
And his flesh can still get in the way.
And the flesh can still get in the way. Yes. You can take it off. It's a little better to speak down into it than on the side.
Do you want me to keep going?
Straight down
Yes.
the center.
Yep. Straight
Okay,
down
so
into the
I'm-
center.
I'm 14.
Yep.
So he sent them to Lebanon in ships, 10,000 every month, so that each man would be 1 month in Lebanon and 2 months at home. Adonram was in charge of this labor force.
So you can pause there. That's perfect. Again, Solomon's not sending the 3. You're going to find out who are these servants, these people that are working. You're going to find out none of them were Israelites. They were specifically the people, the Canaanites, the workforce, the people that were not Israelites. Whoever would have been conquered by war, the people that would have dwelt there previously, a lot of different things. You're going to see this when we go back to 2 Chronicles. So he does show mercy, and I do think this is kind of like to your point, Brother D, is that he gives them 2 months on, 1 month off. That's a pretty cool work schedule, to be honest with you. I'm just being honest, all right, so you got to work 1 month, yeah, and it's going to be a hard month. We got 2 months off, and it's rotational also. So once you get to a place
and he's most likely honoring the Shabbat.
Yeah.
Most likely honoring
Well,
that.
I'm gonna be honest with you. This was the following. Jeroboam was in charge of all those servants and all those workforces. Remember when Jeroboam had that? It's interesting that when the kingdom splits, he goes back to worshiping idols. It makes me think that Jeroboam spent all this time away from the house of Israel learning, because he was with the guys. He was in the caves, he was the manager of them, he oversaw all of that. So he was with them. So think of this as like the business side, some of you guys that are in construction or any kind of workplace, he was in the grind with the people. So when he comes back to Solomon's son, Jeroboam, he's like, listen, you got to lighten the load. And he doesn't do that. He's like, okay, I'm going to fight for my people, and I'm going to split the kingdom. I believe this is why God gives him the kingdom. He had a heart to serve for the people. The problem, though, is that he mixes what I believe he saw, and then that's why he then says, okay, I'm going to set up 2 golden calves, and you're going to worship here. Only if you've never read that, this is just a side note for someone else that have read it. If you haven't read that, we will get there, and I'm going to say that again. Okay, so let's finish 1 Kings. Miss Lisette, can you please finish? We're up to 15. Can you read 15 to 18?
Solomon had 70,000 who carried burdens and 80,000 who carried stone in the mountains, besides 3,300 from the chiefs of Solomon's deputies who supervised the people who labored in the work. You said, I'm sorry.
You finish it,
okay.
All the way to the end.
And the king commanded them to quarry large stones, costly stones, and hewn stones to lay the foundation of the temple. So Solomon's builders, Hiram's builder, and the Gibeonites,
Sure.
quarried them, and they prepared timber and stones to build the temple.
I'm going to get to them another time, but I just wanted to drive home the Sidonians specifically this week. All right, let's finish 2 Chronicles 2. That way we can finish that thought. So we're up to verse 15. I'm going to read this. It says, now therefore the wheat, the barley, the oil, the wine, which my Lord has spoken of, let him send his servants. This is talking, Hiram talking to Solomon. And we will cut wood from Lebanon as much as you need. We will bring it to you in rafts by sea to Joppa, and you will carry them up to Jerusalem, as Rob had said, a contract specifically. We'll bring them to you. You got to figure out how to get them up there. Now, verse 17. This is important. Miss Alyssa, can you read verse 17? You could read 17 to 18.
Solomon took a census of all the foreign men in the land of Israel after the census that his father David had conducted, and the total was 153,600. Solomon made 70,000 of them porters, 80,000 stone cutters in the mountains, and 3,600 supervisors to make the people work.
There's a lot of people that are non-Israelites living in the land. It also goes to show you that Gentiles had always been living with the children of Israel long before the Messiah came into the picture specifically. The gospel has not changed. It's always been for anybody that wants to follow Yah's commandments, keep his instructions, and believe in him, right? And I think this is also important is that we see that while they were not Israelites, they still had purpose, inspiration. Think of the stones that would have been built on the temple. That would have been built by the Gentiles. The Gentiles would have cut the stones. They would have fixed the stones. The temple that Solomon would have built would have completely been manufactured by the hard work of all the Gentiles. Is that not prophetic? Is that not prophetic to the same thing? Who helps Yeshua carry the cross? A Gentile. I just think it's interesting specifically because when you connect those, they tell a story. And that's the gospel. That, like Hiram had said, the God of Israel, the maker of heaven and earth. Amen? That's 1 Kings 5, guys. Thank you for the journey, all right? Thank you. And thank you for you guys gathering along. I hope this blessed you.